We work with a lot of growing companies, and what I have seen is there's a moment in almost every growing company that I've seen. Revenue is climbing, everyone feels good, the team is solid, everyone kind of knows their marching orders and everything they have to do, and then all of a sudden it just stops. And not stops like it's a crash or it's a crisis or we're in trouble or we're going to shut down tomorrow, but it's like a ceiling, right? And more often than anyone wants to admit, and sometimes more often than you can even identify, the ceiling is typically the CEO. And today we are talking about the CEO ceiling and what it is, how it shows up, and how you know if the CEO, whether you or maybe you're the COO and this is very much real to you and you're living it, whether to know if the CEO is a thing standing between the company and really its next level of growth. So I want to introduce, this is Unearth with Shelly Hughes. I'm Shelly Hughes. In this podcast, we talk about all things that keep CEOs up at night and all things that keep business leaders up at night. We talk about revenue scaling, we talk about marketing, we talk about sales and everything in between. We talk about people, really to just understand what true leadership looks like and how we can get our businesses to exactly where we want them to be. So what is the CEO ceiling? I want to go into this first. This is not in any way a failure story. This is actually a sign that you built something worth having, right? And I see this so much because you reach a ceiling. And so this is very different if you're a solopreneur. That is a whole other ceiling that comes much quicker, right? But what's so exciting about the CEO ceiling is that you have people behind you. You have people doing good things. The company to this point probably has grown to match the founder or the CEO's network. Its capacity, its even ceiling of capacity. And at some point, the founder or the CEO or whoever that leader is, it might also be the COO. I've worked with a lot of different companies where it's CEO's kind of the personal brand, the face of the company, but it's the COO that is acting like the growth engine of the company. They have every key relationship, they have every strategic call, they have every close. And if you think about it, that's really not a business. It's essentially one brilliant person surrounded by a really freaking good team. And so it's been working. It worked up to this point, right? And in my last episode, I talked about when to know when you have a growth story instead of a growth strategy. This is a perfect example of a growth story. So the ceiling is the point where the company cannot grow faster than one person can operate that growth. And so I want to ask you in this episode, because again, I see this a lot. This is a lot of times what we deal with clients is, are you running a business or are you the business? You might not be doing the tinkering. You might not be in the warehouse. You might not be actually producing the product, but this is like a high level key man syndrome, right? And we've seen this in $15 million companies, $50 million companies, and really everything in between. So how do you know if you are a ceiling, right? The signs are definitely there. Most leaders just don't see them because they're too busy being said ceiling. And that's a really interesting place for us to come in as a revenue and growth firm and as that consultant and as that strategic partner, because we're able to really open up a lot of people's eyes. The reason we do what we do is because of the aha moments that we give. It's really incredible being in these rooms where the CEO or the COO is, oh my gosh, I didn't realize. I think I've said this before on the podcast. We were with a client and we were going through a brand and messaging audit. And that was our initial intent going into this. What we actually delivered to them was a growth and alignment audit, because we realized as we were getting in and as we were doing the Noli Roots method and our commercial diagnostic and all these and using all these different tools that is proven within our method, we realized that the messaging and brand stuff was so downstream that what we had to focus on was not marketing, but actually just alignment of where the heck are we trying to go here? And I think this is what AI can't do. It's such human and delicate listening that is so important and so hard to do inside the company. But if you're a really good leader, you can catch these things. So for example, one of the things that Matt, our head of client growth, who is head of strategy on my team, he pulled out was that when we were talking to team members, they kept saying they. We don't know where they want to take the company. We don't know what they, and talking about leadership, like it was almost separate. And that was a huge aha moment for leadership of the company, because they're realizing that them not being aligned isn't just affecting their everyday, it's completely erasing any type of company culture that could be, because there's a separation between us and them. And again, a lot of times these leaders don't realize that they're the ceiling, but most likely every important decision still runs through you. New hires can't replicate what you do because it might be written down somewhere, but it might be this huge handbook that is probably outdated and no one really cares about anyway. Your best clients come from your relationships, not from a system or a channel. And here's the thing, we're there right now. A lot of our relationships, and it's because for my business specifically, I'm very strategic in our growth. Look, I had cancer, I had 2 kids. I'm not trying to blow this thing up. I see this in my business as well, I'm trying to make this really sustainable. I'm trying to give each one of our clients the care and value that they deserve, because we choose our clients very carefully. And most of the time, I have to know them a little bit to realize if they're a good client or not. Just the other day, a client came to us and they wanted this X, Y, and Z. They wanted this quick turnaround. They wanted all these different things. I said, hey, I don't know if we'd be the right partner for you, because we have a very specific way that we know how to solve problems, and we know we do them well. And so I'm just saying, I see this happen a lot. Sometimes it's strategic, right? Kind of like what we're doing. But a lot of times, if you realize that this isn't where you want to be and you want to get to that next level, what got you to where you are is not going to get to where you want to be. A lot of times I see this as you're simultaneously selling, leading, and running the business. And what that looks like is maybe the pipeline looks strong, but it's only as long as you're personally working it. I was told in a peer group I was in, and this is a famous quote, I can't remember who said it, but the biggest mistake an entrepreneur makes is they are the salesperson. The second biggest mistake an entrepreneur makes is they are the sales manager. And that hit me, because I'm for sure the sales manager, 100%. And I know a lot of our clients are there too, but for us, we're doing it very specifically because we don't want huge volume of people. We want to make sure that our relationships and our clients are very specific to the problem that we solve. But for many of our clients, they're ready for immense growth. They're ready to just blow the roof off this thing. They don't realize that they are the ceiling. And a quick diagnostic that I ask is, if you took a 6-week leave tomorrow, what would break? Really, what would break in the process? And I also think about it as, even if you're never trying to sell this company, which you might be interested in selling the company, but even if you were never trying to sell a company, almost act like you were. Because if you think about it like that, you'll understand where there's key man syndrome. You'll understand where there's duct tape trying to fix things that shouldn't be duct taped. And even if you're never trying to sell the company, if you frame your operations and frame your thinking around, okay, I need to sell this company. What do people want to see when they purchase a company? Especially a high value company, you're going to just transform your business. So I want to talk about why it's so hard to see this from the inside. And this is a part that makes a CEO ceiling so dangerous, is it feels like leadership. You are rewarded for being indispensable. We all want to be needed, right? We all want to have that feeling. Clients love you. The team relies on you. Every ounce of instinct says, yes, let's keep going. And the habits that built the company are the habits that actually now limit it. And that is really the hardest thing to hold, because years inside a company make the ceiling really invisible. It's really hard to see what that looks like. You normalize what an outside eye would immediately most likely see if you lift the hood a little bit on the company. And this is, again, one of the most consistent patterns that we see in companies, and again, anywhere between 15 million to 100 million. Yet it's one of the least discussed within the company. A lot of times clients will come to us and say, something's off and we're just not sure what. Or honestly, there might be a lack of extreme ownership, right? I've heard leaders say, they're not doing their job, or they're not doing this, or they're not performing. I said this before on the podcast. I heard one leader say that their marketing positions are not revenue generating positions. And I said, that's odd, because they absolutely are and absolutely can be if you give them the right tools. So that's where we come in and we're able to have those uncomfortable decisions. And I've been told more than once that we're business therapists, which I don't want to be known as a business therapist. But more than one client has come to us and said, you're basically my business therapist because you are pointing out the things that I've been trying to hide and keep quiet in my own mind. And you're just letting me speak freely and work through them. So it's kind of cool. I don't want to be a therapist. That's not what we do. But sometimes it shows up that way to certain people. And here's the thing. The ceiling does not break by working harder. It breaks by really building differently. So step one is to make the invisible visible, right? How do you actually grow? Ask yourself, what do you know that no one else does? And really write that down. And the other thing is, as a CEO, as a COO, whoever, this leader that maybe you're seeing this in your CEO, or maybe you are the person, you are the ceiling, you do have a unique ability that no one else in your company has. But you don't want necessarily that to be sales, right? You have to figure out what that is and if it actually really is unique, right? So this first part is make the invisible visible, write it down. How do you actually grow and what are the issues that go along with that? Step two is to build a commercial system that does not require your face on every single deal. Systems carry what currently lives in your head. And maybe it is a profit share for the entire company. We have a profit share in our company. We have a company-wide profit share and we have an individualized profit share. And shout out to Sarah Burlew from Amelie Consulting because she really helped me think differently about what that could look like instead of just commission-based. It's only for salespeople. And my goal for this profit share is for everyone in the company, but specifically key people, but ideally everyone in the company, for this profit share to give them more money than their actual salary. That is my ultimate goal. And how do you keep bringing that up in conversation and making that the forefront of reminding people this exists and what that looks like, right? And that you might have to go out of your 9 to 5. You might have to go out of your 40-hour week or whatever it is to gather those relationships and help your own networking, right? So Annie, that's just one thing that we have done within that commercial system. But this is not about removing the CEO from the company. This is not about removing, if you're the founder, from the company. It's about building past this current capacity. And the question is not, can I keep doing this? The question is, what happens if I can't? So the CEO ceiling or COO or whoever you are, whoever is making the ceiling, it is one of the most common yet least talked about reasons that growth stalls. And in companies that are doing really important work. One of the reason we exist, the reason I started this company, lots of different reasons, but I saw companies doing such incredible things in their communities, in their world, in their industries, and they just hit this ceiling of lack of resources or lack of growth or this kind of thing that they had to be so focused on just maintaining or building or whatever it is that they weren't able to give the same value that they really wanted to or what they dreamt of. And so these companies are doing really good work, but this is something that I see holding a lot of them back of their initial potential. And so I want you to sit with this question. Is your company growing because of the systems that you built or because how hard you personally have to push? And that answer, my dear friend, tells you everything. So guys, thank you for joining us today. This was a nice quickie. But if you think that this episode relates to you or someone you know, please send it along. The algorithm also really likes it when you follow a certain podcast. So if you like this episode and you're not following, please do, because it really just helps us get more earbuds of people who need to hear it. Again, if this sounds like you or someone you know, send me a DM because we give away a lot of free advice. So even if it's just a quick talk, I'd be happy to get on the phone or at least one of my team members. So appreciate your time and I'll see you next time.